Hello and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I know it's been a little while, but we are going to go ahead and hop into a few topics for today. Primarily, I want to focus on this idea of new hash rate all-time highs when ASICs are being deployed to a smaller cryptocurrency. This is because it seems like all the calculations are way off. Just because you have 30 petahash as opposed to 1 petahash doesn't necessarily mean that the network's more secure. And I kind of want to just go over those details so people understand that at the base level. Then we're going to be talking a little bit about the new X5s that are being broken, of course. And then we are going to be covering new miner releases from 1.0 Miner, as well as SRB Miner and BZ Miner. It does look like we're getting some more Intel support from BZ Miner, so I'm super stoked on that. If you are looking for ASICs, now is the time to buy them. I am personally buying Bitcoin mining ASICs. We'll be talking a little bit about why that is today as well, and that is leading us into today's sponsor. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Grab a cup of coffee, and we're going to talk about some crypto. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. BT Miners has been a long-time sponsor of the channel and a proven reliable source for ASIC miners. If you're looking to purchase ASIC hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICminervalue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and tell them SOT sent you to support the channel. Okay, welcome back everyone. So first things first, let's hop into new miner releases. We have a new miner release from BZ Miner version 17. He has added a new coin, Decred. If you are interested in how to build a Decred node so you can mine it, go ahead and check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com. We have extended guides over there, as well as how to GPU mine it. I'll be updating the GPU mining guide with the BZ Miner version 17 once I get my GPU farm back online after I have sent my ASICs off for hosting. We'll be talking about that a little bit more. Where there is added support for Intel Arc GPUs, not only for Decred, but for Ethereum. And this is going to be a big deal because, as you guys know, the Arc A750s are extremely cheap for the amount of VRAM and memory bandwidth that are available on them. And Ethereum lends itself very well to memory-intensive as a memory-intensive algorithm. There we go, for memory or bandwidth on GPUs. So this could be a really big game changer, I think, for mining Ethereum. Intel is enabled by default now, and there is Arc support for not only Decred and Ethereum, but Ironfish, Alephium, Radiant Ethereum, dual mining, Chlor, XNA, Raven, Game Pass, Neoxa, and Meowcoin. I would like to point out that I talked to the developer, IEDoc, and he did mention that in this particular case, there is some more optimizations that can be done on the Arc side. So those will probably be coming along in a later release, probably like a 17.0.1 type release or something along those lines. There is also an added option to restart on reconnect and fixed Hive not liking HTTP, HTTPS, and pool URLs, as well as fixed a possible crash on Intel only rigs. I will be getting out there and taking a look personally on my Intel GPUs and trying to bring one back later this week to go ahead and do some testing for you guys on this. I'm pretty stoked to see some Intel support. I will be honest, I may have had a part in that. My DMs were going out and I was like, yo, get me some Ethereum support for Intel Arc, dude. And he was like, I'll get on it, bro. And I was like, hell yeah. And it looks like he delivered. So thank you so much over there, you guys at BZ Miner, for getting my Intel GPUs mining a coin that I'm interested in. There are some known issues. AMD Polaris cards may not work with Ethereum right now, and only AMD OpenCL driver 21.50.2 and higher is currently supported. So update your AMD driver if you run into OpenCL errors. If you run into issues allocating larger Nexa LUT on NVIDIA cards, please update the NVIDIA drivers. And NVIDIA driver 530 to 535 have a bug that reports wrong clock frequencies. Overclock should be applied correctly. Please update to the very latest NVIDIA driver 535 or higher, which appears to have fixed this bug. If NVIDIA memory temps are not showing, please update to the latest driver. And Nexa is not working on Intel currently, so that's something they'll have to come along down the line. Moving on, we have a new release from SRB Miner as well, version 2.3.6. There is added support for the Dynex algorithm on NVIDIA GPUs now. There's performance improvements on the Dynex algorithm for AMD GPUs as well, so you want to check that out if you're mining Dynex, which is the most profitable coin to mine right now. So I presume, at least according to Hivon statistics, a majority of you are. Speaking of, if you wanted to take a look at that, it's pretty insane. I think it's over 20% on Dynex now. Bullish on Dynex for sure, just from the amount of participation on the network there. Removed Dynex optimized dual kernels, lowered the dev fee for the ETH B3 to 0.85%, and added the parameter busy wait recheck, which sets the NVIDIA Intel GPU's OpenCL busy wait recheck value per algorithm. Finally, for miner releases, we have 10 miner version 1.2.5, which has a hash rate efficiency improvement on some GPUs. I think you'll have to go check and see which ones those are. And they added the new tuning parameter --NR. This is a per GPU option that is related to the number of rounds done in one iteration. Default is 1 and the values are 1, 2, 4, and 8. The best value for almost all GPUs is either 1 or 2. Make sure you try both NR1 and NR2 and let the miner find the best NT value to get a baseline. Note that higher NR values might lead to more fluctuations and higher stale shares. So there you go. All the miner releases. It's been a while. We haven't had a lot of GPU miner releases here recently. It's been pretty quiet. So starting to see some more development. I mean, even as we talked with Bitsby Trippin yesterday on that kind of follow-up call on Serpent's channel, which you can check out on the community tab. I have it linked over there and shared. You know, he was talking about there are great improvements coming down the pipeline for a lot of cryptocurrency mining softwares. And I think this is really important because it does show that people are still building during the bear market. And I think that's great. On the downside, for those that are invested in the Antminer X5, which is going to be your XMR miner from Bitmain, specifically like Monero, for example, a lot of them appear to be DOA. There was a dead-on arrival from Red Panda Mining, which was reported on this morning. You can go check out his video. I left the link to the Twitter post down in the description below, so make sure you go support Red Panda over there and watch his video and see what's going on. Steel City Mining did reply to his Twitter post saying that Bitmain Tech also does not actually have any parts in to repair these. So if you were part of the first batch of the Bitmain Antminer X5 XMR miners, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to sit back and wait, which is going to impact, of course, your ROI. As I always say with these miners in particular, it's best to avoid the first batch, not only because of issues like this, where there will be kinks that need to be worked out, etc., but also because they are typically priced higher than they end up being in the future. This is because when you have application-specific hardware implemented onto any network, it drastically increases the difficulty on said network, which drastically decreases the amount of currency you are mining, which means at the end of the day, it's going to adjust those ROI numbers significantly. So it's better to wait for batches 2 at the very least, or batches 3. So not only do you have the issues worked out on those particular units, but you also can more accurately determine what your return on investment for those particular units are going to be. A lot of people always ask me, like, are you going to get the KS3 for Kaspa? Are you going to get the KA3 for Kadena when it was announced? Are you going to get this miner, that miner? Look, If it's a first batch, and it doesn't even matter if it's Bitcoin, I typically avoid them. The S21 first batches, I'll avoid it. Even though it's Bitcoin, I will probably avoid it just so that I can see what is going to shake out as far as that's concerned. And when you have brand new coins that are getting ASICs, this is even a little bit scarier to invest in, because not only do you have to worry about those units being dead on arrival when you get them, but you have crazy changes in not only price, but difficulty, your yield, all that sort of stuff that happens within that first little bit. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit today, because that's what we're starting to see happen on Kaspa. And it has drastically changed the way the Kaspa network looks from an ROI perspective, etc. So I think it's important to pay attention to that. As we get into Kaspa too, there was a dust attack here recently, and the reason why I want to talk about the dust attack is primarily not due to the fact that the dust attack happened or whatever, but the reasoning or the prevention of the dust attack, which I think is relevant in the topic today, because the prevention of the dust attack on Kaspa in particular was to make it costly, and this is really the whole point of today. The fourth key point for Kaspa's dust attack is you can't prevent the attack. You can only make it costly. And this is really a trend, not just a trend. This is a basic principle surrounding cryptocurrency in general. You prevent attacks by making the attack costly. And this is coming from the Medium post by developer Shy. And I think it's really great for you guys to go down and check that out in the description. Read through the whole thing so that you understand exactly how the attack was implemented, and then understand that attacks in general across all blockchains, the primary prevention of attacks is going to be driving the cost of the attack up. And I think this is really important when we start to talk about cryptocurrency as a whole on a global scale, okay? The reason for this is if we look at all coins outside of Bitcoin, their cost to attack is significantly lower than Bitcoin by magnitudes of order, right? We're talking about the difference between Bitcoin being attacked and pretty much every other shitcoin in existence is that Bitcoin is so costly to attack. It's too expensive for even a lot of first world countries to attack. Meaning that a country doesn't even have the amount of revenue or whatever to actually implement an attack. This is very unique to Bitcoin in particular. And if anything wants to actually be on the status level of Bitcoin, you need that hash power to be to that cost of attack that's going to prevent it. And this is one of the things that when I look at everything as a whole, I'm always kind of keeping into consideration, right? If you have a network grow too fast and at some point there is an incentive for that network to be attacked, you need to make sure that the cost to attack is too high for that to be basically implemented. So it's something that I pay attention to. And what I wanted to get into today is I keep seeing a lot of posts on Twitter about new hash rate all-time highs on Kaspa. Look, I like Kaspa, all that sort of thing, but what I want to do is give you guys a little bit of a picture of like what that actually means, because we are not seeing an increase in participation of amount of miners on Kaspa, which is what a lot of people that are tweeting about it want you to think. In fact, if we take a look at it, we can actually go over here to hashrate.no, and you can see it very, very clearly as to what's going on, right? If you look at the amount of hash rate on the new Antminer KS3, we're talking about 9.4 terahash a second for a single unit. Compare that to what was previously most efficient on Kaspa with your FPGAs, and we were talking about the E300 and the K10, being somewhere around, what is it, 15 gigahash or something along those lines on the E300. And then we go back even further. If we're talking about GPU mining, you're talking about 1150 megahash a second. So I ran some numbers just to give you guys an idea. If we took the Kaspa network hash rate right now, and this can apply to anything. So we could apply it to Kadena in the past. We can apply it to Nexa in the future. All this sort of stuff, right? So if we take a look at like Kaspa as just an example, we have 30 petahash on the network. Now, what does that mean, right? Because we're like, oh, well, it was at 1 petahash before the ASICs came out. Now we're at 30 petahash, right? Well, and people are saying, well, follow the miners, follow the miners. Well, we have less miners on the network, and it's actually very clear to see. If we take 30 petahash and divide it by, 9.4 terahash, right? Like that or whatever. Anyways, you have 0.0094 petahash per one of these units. The numbers end up coming out to essentially like 3,100 KS3s on the network, okay? If we compared that to having an RTX 4070 Ti on the network, which is 1150 megahash a second, with essentially 1 petahash on the network, which we'll go back over here. So if we had 1 petahash on the network, right, we would have essentially this much megahash. And if we were only GPU mining, right, you would have essentially this divided by the 1150. That would be 869,565 4070 Ti's on the network, which is the most efficient GPU that you could have on there. So when we talk about the difference between 1 petahash of essentially GPU mining versus 30 petahash of the current ASIC mining, it's a drastic difference. We're talking about 869,000 GPUs versus 3,100 ASICs, okay? Then if you get into the power cost for that in particular, that's where things get interesting, because basically what I'm stating here at the very end of the day is that the biggest deterrent to attacks on a network is cost. And what is the primary cost of any proof of work network is going to be power. And so if you take a look at this and we say, okay, 869,000, right? 869,000 4070 Ti's at 1150 megahash a second, right? How much power does that use? Well, we would take 869,000 and we would multiply that times the 131 watts. And what do we come out with, right? Well, I did run the numbers. We come out with 113,913,000 watts for 1 petahash of GPUs. As opposed to that, if we take a look at 30 petahash of KS3s on the Kaspa network, that's only 10,172,908 watts. That is a drastic difference in cost to attack networks, right? From a power perspective. The argument, of course, could be here in general that you have essentially less of the ASICs or more expensive ASICs. So here's what we've discussed with Shai in the past, which I think is a valid argument. Because the ASICs are $60,000 a pop, less people are going to be able to afford them, and the people that purchase them are going to be more invested into the network. So you'll have a potential of, if only every person only purchased one ASIC, which we know is not the case, then, essentially that one person would be, or those 3,100 people would be committed to that network and want to uphold it, right? But I think really when you look at that, you have to then also take into consider NiceHash. And a lot of people do still put their ASICs on NiceHash, so it's cost to attack from rental on NiceHash. That being said, not everybody's doing that sort of thing, but base cost to attack still comes down to power consumption. And we have a huge drop off in participation of mining. That's just, if we go from 1 petahash of GPUs to 30 petahash of ASICs, the participation from miners has actually decreased significantly. And this is across every network. I just bring this up so that you guys get a picture of like how stark of a difference it actually is. Because when you go out there and you see people posting about, oh, follow the miners, No, I'm a miner. I can give you guys all of the info here so that you can see we don't have more participation for mining on when a coin moves to ASICs. You have less participation, right? There's only 3,100 units available for you to have 30 petahash on the network, as opposed to the GPUs with 1 petahash, you have, 869,000. That's a huge difference. So this is kind of the idea that I wanted to get out there in this podcast format, and kind of get your guys' feel on it and what you're thinking. Also, like, how many people are actually investing in these ASICs at the end of the day when they're so expensive? How much of this is getting consolidated into single farms, that sort of thing? And what does that mean for the future of the network? We are going to see, of course, more consolidation of the rewards, but Kaspa is in particular unique in the fact that we have a majority of it already mined. So there's a lot of different things that go into this, but I think mining participation is something that we should pay attention to. We are going to get into Q&A. I don't want to do a super long show today because I have other stuff that I want to do, but this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart that I wanted to pay attention to and talk and kind of bounce ideas off of everybody else. Now, speaking of utilizing a lot of power for your mining operations, I do have a new t-shirt design that I just created. It's called Kilowatt Killers. I did it in a death metal logo. You can get it at shop.sonofatech.com. Shameless self-promotion. You can go ahead and pick that up with the link down in the description. It should eventually populate under the video for you guys as well. I was pretty excited for that design, so I wanted to share it with you guys as far as that's concerned. And then before we get into Q&A as well, I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about what I'm mining, because I think a lot of people are interested. I am profitable right now. If you want to know the exact details on how profitable, etc., you can check out my locals at sonofatech.locals.com. But I'll give you guys a brief overview. We talked about moving the Bitcoin miners over to, of course, NiceHash for profitability. Right now I have 22 ASICs online. 21 of those are Bitcoin ASICs. One is a Dashcoin miner, and we are doing, this is the projected, weekly 831, you got your monthly at 3564 and your yearly at 43,000 or whatever that may mean, but that is all fluctuating. Your margins are very, very, very low. So when we look at these numbers, it's important to take into account that your power to run these is a lot higher. So monthly, for example, right now, projected looks pretty, I think actually a little bit lower than what the actual has been. It's at like 3,600, but if you took the power cost for all of these are all playing in low power mode as well. But you are looking at about $3,000 in power cost, right? But these are all getting hosted. It is possible, though, to be profitable in mining, and that's kind of what I wanted to give you guys a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to pay attention to what you're doing and so on. My GPU mining strategy has been quite a bit different, right? I've been taking that profit from the Bitcoin mining, using that to pay for power on the GPUs, and with the GPUs, what I've been doing is mining coins with high yield. What this allows me to do is get a big bag of some coin that nobody's mining. And then if you haven't noticed, a lot of what has been happening on the GPU mining side is you'll have coin A go up and coin B go down. And then what I'm doing is mining the coin that goes down. And then when it reverses and coin B goes up and coin A goes down, I go mine coin A and I sell what I mined on coin B, right? So it's just bouncing back and forth. Almost the opposite of what something like we talked about before Rainbow Miner does, where it always mines the most profitable, which can be viable, but your margins are going to be a lot lower. If you get the high yield, we talked about that in a video as well, then you can kind of bounce back and forth and you can get profitable. What that does mean, though, at the end of the day is that you have to actually be a little bit more active and less passive in your mining strategies. And you have to pay attention to difficulties of networks, prices, etc. So this can be a little bit confusing, and I do realize that for a lot of people. So, you know, if you want to be profitable, you can. It just takes more work right now. If you want to be profitable and be a bit more passive, the Bitcoin ASICs are the easiest way to do that right now, especially with the price of them coming down significantly, and with the proper hosting and the purchase power agreements that you can draw out for like 5 years or whatever. You can get yourself into a position where, yeah, I have some units that are like 95 terahash a pop, you know, on low power mode, getting like 74, 76 terahash or whatever that may be, and only really profiting like 30 cents a day, but they're in the green. And that means that I can get those power agreements solved through the bull run. And that's kind of the strategy as far as that's concerned. Let's go ahead and get into questions and answers today, and then we will wrap it up. Let me get this chat popped out. I see quite a few little oranges, so we're going to go ahead and get through them. We got Jacob Matson says, at Cybertech, have you installed any Epic UMC control boards on your S19s? Yes. Yes, I have on the S19 Pro. I've tested it out, and on the S19 J Pro. I haven't tested it out on the S19 yet. That is something that I have planned here for the near future. Hopefully get some content surrounding that out for you guys, as well as a Xilinx board. So I'm going to be testing the 95 terahashes, because the 95 terahashes are extremely cheap in bulk right now. And there is, like, for example, the Hive OS firmware on the S19 95 terahash, which can put it at like 2300 watts and 80 terahash, but you do have the dev fee. So that, compared to like the Epic without the dev fee, what do those come out to? What's more profitable? That's all going to be things that I'm trying to cover and find out for myself. So I'll be letting you guys know as I find that out. Vincent says, as Cybertech, what I hear, so power does not equal security. However, decentralized power does. However, the instantaneous hack, which only needs a huge hash for a block cycle, is likely less to purchase 2/3 required to own a proof of stake. What I mean is, large proof of stake coins require higher funding for an attack than rent for a huge amount of hash for an hour. So proof of stake security obviously functions a little bit different. I don't study a lot of proof of stake, so I stay away from it, because frankly, there are going to be experts in multiple areas of cryptocurrency. As far as it's still cost to attack, as you pointed out. And I think that that's very relevant, right? So when we get to like securing cryptocurrency, I guess cost to attack is number one, and then you can basically manipulate that, whether it's proof of stake or not. The problem with proof of stake, of course, is that you're centralized on where you're running that power. So like AWS, Google, that sort of thing, and your points of failure are a lot smaller, right? So, and power does play a part in that too, right? To a certain extent, you're still running nodes, right? And so it may cost you more from the coin perspective. And then at that point, you still have the cost, I guess, of the VPS in general. I would have to do some more research on it, though. And like I said, that is not my area of expertise. However, I would say that proof of stake coins, because they don't use power, are a lot more vulnerable than proof of work coins. And I think that is proven out to be true, right? Solana going down multiple times in the double digits within a year. I mean, it's pretty clear that these proof of stake networks are vulnerable, right? Vincent says, at Cybertech, the big debate is security budget, which runs very thin on fast emission coins like Kaspa or Radiant. Security is dynamic, not static or instantaneous. That security is dynamic. I think, okay, let me try to get this down. So you're saying that the security budget is thin on fast emission coins. Can you elaborate a little bit more so I can understand that a little bit better? Sam Fisher says, "Hey, so are you still using Rainbow Miner?" No, I am. I have shifted. You know, right now everything is ASICs. So I have the hosting facility and then I have my facility, right? With the ASIC game, what I'm doing is I purchase like a bulk, about 200 amps worth of miners, because that's what I can do at my facility. I plug those 200 amps in, I test them, make sure that those units are good to go. I repair any fans, hashboard replacements, control board replacements, whatever needs to be done. Get them all up and running, run them for a week, make sure everything's golden. Then I ship those out to get hosted and I turn the GPUs back on. As soon as I get another bulk purchase quantity of Bitcoin ASICs, which is what I've been doing right now, I'll power down the GPUs, power up the ASICs for a week, test them and send them off. In the meantime, with the GPUs that I power back on, what I do is I power them on and I mine whatever has a higher yield like we were just talking about. So I'll go to mining pool stats. I have a list of coins that I'm like okay with mining, right? Nexa, Radiant, Raven coin. I have a whole list, right? I'll see which one has the lowest difficulty that's producing the highest yield, not the highest profit, and I'll mine that until I get my next shipment of Bitcoin miners to test. Jacob says, just to clarify, do you need the proper hash boards before you can adjust voltage on the Epic control board? Do you need the proper hash boards? Well, no. So as long as the hash board is supported by the Epic control board that you purchase, it'll be able to pick it up on the hash board side of things. Jeff says, it's been a while since I caught a live stream. Hope you're doing well. I am doing well, Jeff. Thanks for stopping by. Vulcan says, if you have $3,000 to $4,000 to buy an ASIC, which one do you prefer at the moment? If I had, I'll tell you what I've been buying. I've been buying the S1995 terahashes. So I think there's 100 left at Coastal Crypto. You can get 2% off if you tell them I sent you. I want to say we just talked about them. They're under $600 a pop right now. So that's what I've been doing. And then, like I said, if you can, there's two different hash boards really that are, I think you could go either way. And I think the ROI is faster on the ZIL Linux boards because they are a lot more available. So you can pick those up for like, $50 a pop, that sort of thing. I think over the long term, the Epic boards are a little bit better. My strategy personally, of course, is going to have like Epic boards and ZIL Linux boards in, keep the Bitmain stock boards. When it gets to the bull run, swap the stock boards back in, sell the old units, keep my hash boards for newer units. Like, let's say, my presumption would be, okay, just off the top of my head, would be our S19J Pros in the next bear market going down under that $600 mark. And so stack up the capital, keep the Epic boards and the ZIL Linux boards in stock, buy the S19J Pros, right? Swap the boards into those, get even more efficient for the next bull run, rinse, repeat. That's how I would run it probably. Decibeat says, I am considering getting an S19J Pro 96 terahash for €1,300, which consumes 2832 watts. Does it make sense if electricity is at 20 cents a kilowatt hour? Have solar, which means like 6 hours of free electricity. I mean, I would just run it for the 6 hours of free electricity and not run it 24/7. And then on the S19J Pros, you can get even lower, obviously, with low power mode on the stock board. So you can consider that as well. I think that would be a pretty decent idea as far as that's going. Can you guys please tag at Son of a Tech or send a super chat just so it's easier for me to read? I will try. Luckily, chat's pretty slow today, though, so we should be able to get through a lot of these. Sebastian says, what would be a good winter mining project? I think if you were looking at it from a yield perspective, I would go probably, and I know this is going to be weird, but it is a little bit higher on the heat side of things. But if you want to play it, and once again, we know this project, I'm going to tell you, we know this project is moving ASICs because they've stated it. It will be shifting algorithms to an ASIC friendly algorithm. But if you wanted pure yield and you wanted to do something that, you know, is going to generate more heat than other algorithms, I would go Nexa. Now, obviously, this could change by the time the temperatures drop. But you have, you know, a pretty decent decrease in difficulty since it launched. You get a very high yield off of it. Probably a pretty decent idea. Let's see. What's up, Trillian? Welcome to the stream. Maybe about like 3 more minutes here, guys. Something along those lines, and then maybe peacing out. I think we already I got out the idea that I wanted to get out, so I feel pretty good about that. If you guys have any more questions about it, or you want to talk about it a little bit more, I'd definitely be interested in, you know, counter thoughts surrounding it for sure too. Jacob says, "That's Tech. Thanks, man. As always, you're the leading person I trust with mining in the crypto space. I appreciate that, dude. I still get, I mean, I get all of my ideas from everyone else too. So it's a what do you call it? I guess a community effort, right?" Yeah, Nexa yields are very high right now, Sebastian. Vincent says, "That's Son of a Tech. Will stick to proof of work, and yes, you're an expert." Oh, and then retracted. All right. I almost read it. I guess maybe it's good I didn't finish reading it. Fi Ambi says, "Ask Son of a Tech, under which circumstances would you mine Kaspa again?" So if we looked at, let's go ahead and look at what are the prices on this. We're on batch 2, right? I think we're on batch 2. They're 42,000. This is pretty easy, I think, for me. Once the Kaspa miners drop below $5,000 a piece, which I would presume will happen probably in April of 24. And I mean, they're quite a bit above that. If we go to, I don't know, BT miners. And that's provided because that's when I bought my D9. That's when I bought my BM3K1, my Kadena miner, right? The KA3 is probably something I'm looking at purchasing soon. Get one of those. So the KS3 is at like 33,000. I know it says like ROI is 5 months right now, but we are seeing pretty significant increase in hash power. We know about 1,900 more units have to be put onto the network right now. They're getting more efficient as well, meaning that, you know, 40 to 50 petahash by end of year is a for sure. If we go to what to mine and we do like, let's go ASIC, let's or actually I think it's easier if you do coins, Kaspa, hit here. Our difficulty is gonna go up. How much is our difficulty gonna go up? Another 25%. So, and then we need our emissions. So Kaspa emissions chart should be able to pull up here. Is that here? No, where is it? It's like Kaspa FYI or something along those lines. Here we go. So December 146. So we'll enable this. We'll go like 146 on that. Actually, let's predict out to April, because that's where I'm thinking we're going to have this go to, right? So let's go April 6th, 116. Then I think 40 to 50 petahash by end of year. We get another batch. We could probably go, we could triple difficulty, I think, at this point, right, by April. So let's just multiply this times 3. Right. Times 3. So we're looking at April projection at when I would probably buy if I was just assuming right now off the top of the block, right off the top of my head. We adjust the block reward to 116. We triple the difficulty, provided the price stays the same, which I don't think it will. I think we'll potentially have a triple in price, but let's go ahead and calculate this out. Yeah, that would come out to $35 a day. And then let me see if that's about right. So 35 times, or 5,000 by 35 would be 142-day ROI. That seems about right. Yeah, that seems about right. Somewhere around there. I would presume by April, yeah, 35 would make sense. There is the possibility that this basically triples. So let's say the price goes to 15 cents per. We calculate that out. I don't think it will. That would be 120 per day. I don't know. Probably, yeah, probably around April time frame is when I would buy in for Kaspa. Mining. Somewhere around there. I mean, if you look at, what is it? The D9 was that 5 or that's after. It's after 10 cents a kilowatt hour, $5 a day or something. I think it's doing like $10 a day. $12 a day on the D9 right now. What's the KA3 at? KA3 before power is doing like $10 a day. Dash is obviously a more established coin. So there's that. Then Kadena. Art says, I don't see ASICs on Radiant for a while. $20,000 a day in emissions right now. Yeah, but you have FPGAs on Radiant. I mean, that's what my FPGAs are on. Radiant's not a bad option, though, for dual mining right now. But I wouldn't just 100% go to Radiant. Art, personally. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bells. We'll have new videos tomorrow. And then we'll be getting more testing out and everything for everyone. I appreciate each and every one of you. Go check out the new Kilowatt Killer shirt at shop.sonofatech.com. And I will see you next Tuesday.